friends, Pam Shepherd with Pamela Shep Productions here, and today I'm going to show you the tools that I use every single time I sew, every day almost, and then some that I use pretty often and some that I just really like. And so we're going to start with something that I use every single time I sew, and one of them is I use a lot when I'm quilting. I use a 1/4 inch foot. I use it a lot. I actually had one and I lost it. I could not find it. It had fallen off the sewing machine table, and I had bought one for my sister for a present. So I had to open it up so that I could use the use hers. I needed one that day. I needed it right then. So I always, at least now I have two. And I have a little box that I keep underneath my sewing machine. It fits right, the little box fits right underneath the sewing machine. And I keep the all of the feet inside this. But my husband bought this. It's a magnetic little bowl that you get at Harbor Freight. And so I keep all of the ones that I use the most. The zipper foot, the open toe, and this one. I love those. And I keep those right there, and I just slide it right under my sewing machine. And so I use those a lot. And then, of course, my 1/4 inch feet that I really, really like. And anything else, like I took something out of the wall and I needed to keep the screw so that I could use it for something else. So I keep that in there. And this is the ring that was my daddy's, and I wear it sometimes, and so I stuck it in there because I didn't want to wear it right then. I had an extra little bobbin that I just threw in there because I didn't have my little bobbin case out. Okay, so this goes underneath the sewing machine. And then, of course, speaking of bobbins, I have a little bobbin holder. I've had this for a long, long time. I just keep this right inside the top drawer beside my sewing machine. And I try to fill some of the same colors that I'm working on. And I don't know where I have all my bobbins now, but I have enough to fill up this whole thing. And I keep that right on the top drawer. I use this quite often. Another thing that I use every single day is this rotary cutter. Now, this is my new favorite one. I did have, this one was my favorite. It's just a cheapy little one that I got on Amazon. But I love it that you can, you know, squeeze the handle. Only thing is I can't get it to go back now. And I even took it apart, you know, sprayed it. I even washed it, put some oil in it. It has taken abuse though, because look, I even had the glue gun up against it. But you could have locked it where it won't clamp, unlock it where it did clamp, and I just really like that. I don't like having to shut them all the time. That's one reason I like this, is just when you push on it, the friction of pushing it down, it cuts. And it has the little protector all the way, around it, except when you press down on it. And this one is a Omni-Grid, but it's by QUILT. And QUILT is my favorite scissors. So I bought a whole pack of them, but I probably use these two the most. There's even there's a smaller one. These are the QUILT scissors. I just love these. I have other ones, of course, but these are my very favorites. And I pretty much use them every day. Another thing I use continually, of course, is some pins. I made a bunch of these little pin holders that have a magnet in the bottom so that, you know, if you drop pins, you can, you know, pick them up like that. But I made a bunch of these, and I love them. And then a friend of mine gave me, and I have a video on making these little pin holders too. And then a friend of mine gave me this, and at first I thought, I don't know about that. I mean, I like Shabby Chic. That's my favorite. But this was a little bit foo-foo for me even. But it's got like a cardboard or hard base here. And then it's got this bag that attaches. Actually, I think it Velcros. Yeah, it Velcros on and off. I think it was actually made for you to put trash in. But I keep my clips in it. And I used to keep them in this little tip-down thing on my front, but this has proved to be fabulous. And that was another thing I use daily, or quite often, are these clips, Wonder Clips. And sometimes I use this kind of clips, just good old hairpins. Depends on how flat it is, and then you can just pull it off as you're stitching along and sewing. So sometimes I use those. And I like them. But this thing, you know, it sits to my right. And it sits up, I tuck this, let's see, how do I do it? Yeah, I actually have a light that clamps, so I have this under the light, so it clamps it, and this goes right up under the sewing machine. Then she had a magnet strip across here, and it's just, you can see it's just one of those. It wasn't strong enough, so I put a little, one of these magnets that I have up underneath it. And so then when I put these little snippers, these little rainbow snippers, actually these right here are my favorites. I use these every day. And then they just stay right there by my sewing machine. They just stay there on that. And so they're so handy. This particular brand that's my favorite, let's see, this one is, yeah, this one's my favorite. And it's Unique. U-N-I-Q-U-E. Let me zoom in so maybe you can see it. Yeah. These are just happen to be my favorites. They're kind of rainbow colored, but I use those every day. And now I just stick the pins over there as I take them out of the sewing machine. I mean, off of the garment, or I don't really do too much garment. It's mostly bags and pot holders and quilts and things like that. But this really works pretty slick. So I may figure out a pattern. Okay, my battery died, so I had to change batteries. But anyhow, it's got one of those little bone, I'm not sure exactly what's in there, wire or something, but holds it open, and it's so convenient. I absolutely love this. So that's one of the things I use every single day. So the rest of these are not things that I use every single day, but I love them. I always try to keep one of these cloth tapes around, because it seems like I continually need one of these, and that's really nice to have. I use this one is particular one is by Clover. It's a turner. Sometimes I use my bone folders from my paper crafting. But this works really great to you know, to turn things out. And let's see, there's another name for this, that you can actually crease your fabric where you want to, you know, either sew a line or do something, and you don't have to put a mark. So I really like this to turn items. However, one of the things that I do to mark my items is I bought a whole set of these Frixion pins, fine liners. I have all kinds of colors. They came in a whole kit. And so these Frixion fine liners, and they're erasable. But what's really nice about them is when you iron it, it goes off. And somebody said that if it gets cold, they show up. back on the fabric. So I marked them on some fabric, and I actually even put the fabric in the freezer to see if it would come back, and it never did come back. So I feel pretty safe to use these. So I use these depending on what color the fabric is, depending on what color I want it to show. If I need to follow a line, I do use those. Then this one is a Bohan marker, and you click it out, and this particular one I have right now, it has white lead in there, so if you need to mark white on a product. And then I also have green that comes with this, and it is erasable as well, or you can wipe it off, but I do use this on occasion. So of course, seam rippers. Gotta have seam rippers. Everybody makes mistakes sometimes. So I bought this one I think I bought it from So Yeah online, and it has one size on one end and a huge size on the other end. So I keep that just inside the little drawer under my sewing machine. And of course, just your little old cheapy ones, they work as well. They work good as well. So I do keep seam rippers on hand because I do make mistakes sometimes. This is kind of cool. I was going to see if I could find something I had stitched and show you how cool this works. I can't remember what they call this. It's like a seam. It is a seam ripper, but it works pretty cool. I'll look and see if I can find something that I've stitched that doesn't matter and I can tear the seam out. I'll do that in just a minute. Another thing I do use on occasion, pretty often actually, is this Roxanne Glue Basted. I do use that to hold things down while I'm going to sew them. Zippers, seams, just different things. And I iron them down, and then I don't have to worry about sometimes even using pins or anything because it makes it so nice with this. I really like that. Another thing I use pretty often is the stiletto. I bought this online from a gal I watch her. She comes on Thursday nights on YouTube, and it's called, let's see, what's it called? Vintage hippie something. I'll have to look it up and put it down, I think. But she makes really cool things like this, and I'm thinking, if you're going to use a stiletto, why not use something way cool looking? So I do use this. I bought a package of these. I was sent some of these when I purchased some items from Cruise and Quilt from over on the coast, or the QUILT coast in Oregon, and she sent me some of these for a gift when she sent me my fabric. And so I ordered 1,000 of these on Amazon, and they're just little tiny cotton. Oh, let me tell you, these work fabulous to clean your machine. When you change your bobbins and you get in there and try to clean out all the stuff out of your machine, it's amazing how much, even though I use Aurifill thread and Guterman thread, both of them are supposed to be good about not leaving a lot of fibers behind, but I don't think there is any that leaves everything behind. So I do use those. And then if I'm chain piecing, I purchased this also at Cruise and Quilt in Coos Bay, Oregon. When we were there, we like to go to Coos Bay, and this is where you put your old rotary cutters in there that are finished being a rotary cutter there, but you save them there, and this magnetizes together, and you can unscrew this, and then you put one of your rotary cutters in there, and then you just pull your pieces through there and cut the thread. I mean, you can just leave it on your sewing machine and use it to cut the threads for anything. It really works nice, and it was so cute and pink, and I loved it. And then, as far as rulers go, there's different rulers that people use. And I ordered these off of Amazon because I needed to measure just little things, see how far things were, and this, that, and the other. And I was so surprised at how much I use these two little rulers the most. I just use these a lot. They just, you know, just to see if I'm, how far I am from some little something, or I just think these are just fabulous. I couldn't believe, and these are OmniGuard. I'll have all this stuff listed down below the video, but those were so handy, and I just couldn't believe how much I use them. I just keep them slipped right underneath my sewing machine. I have one of those Sew Steady tables that are clear, and I keep these slid right under the edge of those. Some of the rulers that I use a lot, I use these two sizes. This one is a 3-inch, just a flat 3-inch one. This one is 3.5, which worked out perfect because one of the quilts I'm making right now, I need 3.5-inch pieces. And this one is 3.5 by 12.5, this one. So it's not so overwhelmingly long, and I can usually do a lot of the cutting with my rotary cutters. And then I do use this one, which is 2.5. This one is 2.5 by, let's see, how long was this one? I can't remember how long this one is. 13, 14, 15, 18. 18? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, 2.5 by 18, which makes it nice if you need something this size of jelly rolls, 2.5 inch. And then it's 18 inches long, so it's really nice to be able to use your rotary cutter on a smaller mat, but you're not having to use a huge mat. And this one, I actually use this one quite a bit too. This is 3.5 by 24. So I use this one a lot. I actually use this one a lot. So I keep these, my husband, we have a screw in the wall, and these all hang up right there just across from my sewing machine on a slender paneling, or a slender panel on the wall. So they just hang like that, and they're so nice. I do use little square rulers sometimes, like this quilt that I'm making right now. I'm having to cut the strips, and I'm having to use a square ruler to get a total squared edge, and you just go down the center of where I've sewn them together. And so that works extremely nice to get a totally true square corner. I have the OmniGuard, and then I have this one that I have the whole little set from Riley Blake. That's I think it comes in I want to say 5.5, 4.5, 3.5, and 2.5, and maybe 6.5. There's a whole little set of these, and surprisingly, I do use these, even the little 2.5 one. They work quite nicely, and I use those a lot. And then the one thing that I just had to make it out of necessity, and I see they sell them kind of like this now, but I just made this because I needed it so bad, and it was I needed to turn. Where you sew little skinny pieces together and you need to turn them inside out. So I got this old straw that was left over out of one of my water bottles that was this really big hole in this straw, and I had it in my drawer in there, so I went and got that. And I had this chopstick. We have several different sets of chopsticks. This one happens to be metal. I have wooden ones also. But then I just put it through, I put the deal on there and I push it through like this, and then I'm able to pull the whole thing through, and it's just so cool. And now I notice they sell them like this, but this was my makeshift that I made, and I use it a lot. I love it. It's really nice. And then something that I use every day, my husband bought me this phone holder, and it's a bulbhead.com. I really, desk call by Cup Call. I don't know where he got this, but let me tell you, this has been something I use every day. And it works nice for my phone. This is a iPhone 13 Pro Max. It fits the smaller phones, it fits the bigger phones. It has a little button that you press to make it open and close right here. This button, which makes it as wide as you need. I don't think it would be wide enough for a tablet, but then you just push it together. The one nice thing is you can plug it in down here, and you can turn it sideways so you can watch a movie landscape, you can watch YouTube videos landscape, and it's got these feet that hold it up so it doesn't fall over, and yet you can turn it, you can do it all the way around. You can turn it this way or that way. This has been one of my favorite things. I don't know where he got this, but I'll look it up and see if I can find one and put it down below in my description. So anyhow, this has been one of my very favorite tools. That's my main favorite things that I use on a regular basis. I have lots of other tools that I just use because I like them and I need them, and they're specialty things, but those are the main things that I use on a regular basis, not to mention my iron and my little ironing board cover that I made myself. I have a video on that. I just took a board and put batting on it. Oops. Stapled it to the back, as you can see. This one's not that big. I have a great big long one I had my husband cut me, but this one is probably about 17.5 inches long by about 12 inches wide. And I keep this right beside my, it stays right over there, right beside my sewing machine. And I use this, needless to say, every day. And then another thing I use that's not every day is I did buy one of these clover. Depends on what you're making. If you need to really get a true hem and you want to just turn it over, and this can go under, you can iron this. So that I keep this usually just based right up underneath this over there on my, like this. I keep it right underneath this over there on my ironing board. And it has actually proved to be quite nice too. So that's the main things that I use every time I sew. I don't use this every time I sew, but I use that and most everything that I showed you. And let me see if I can find something to take the seam out. I keep this beside my sewing machine so that I can try the different stitches. It's just I put a piece of batting and just some basic fabric on it so that I can just try out the different stitches that I have on my machine to see if I like it or if that's what I want. Let me see if I can show you on this. So if I wanted to take this out, this actually, this is not the best. You come in here and you see where you would normally use a seam ripper to come in here and try to take that out. Well, you can take this and just go down the whole thing. You know, depends on what you're doing. And it takes it out. I think it'll even take this one out. Let's see. Turn it where I can get my hand in there. But this is a pretty cool thing. I've used this numerous times too. If you got to take out a big long thing. Isn't that crazy? This is not a very good example of, but see? You just, yeah. But this was just amazing to me how you could get rid of a seam pretty fast. Oh, now this has 2 or 3 stitches over top of it. But, you know, if you just have a seam that you want to take out, that's pretty amazing. So that's what this thing is I just use this piece to look and see how that turns out in case I want to use that particular stitch on one of my items. So that is the main things. I mean, I don't think I'm forgetting anything because I took the stuff right around my sewing machine. I do have a little fan that's right there my daughter bought for me, and if it's hot or something, it's a little clip-on fan and I can turn that on. I have clip-on lights that I love and I use every single day, but those are the basic tools that I really like, and I like to use those every single day when I'm sewing. So I thought I would just show you those, and I'll see you on the next video. And if you like this, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. It's free, and I will see you on the next video, and God bless you. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.